So this is the lawsuit. It's actually one of the lawsuits. This was filed on February 16th, 2024, against Roblox. And basically it is for exploiting children, failure to protect children, and there was another one that was filed last year in November. It is in fact a class action complaint, and sadly this should be national news because this affects so many people. There was investigation done by their attorneys, and basically it's built on the exploitation of children, succeed by unlawfully profiting off of children's labor. But it's not just that. There's predatory conduct, and it's not just like sexual stuff, but you know, you look at the outfits that they have for children and minors. If they were to dress like that in the real world, their parents would probably be arrested. Many people would be going crazy, and yet they have outfits that are pretty much strip club type outfits that little girls are wearing, and it's so disturbing. Like, this is not what Roblox started out to be, but now they need to, you know, age categorize these kinds of outfits for little girls. Like fishnet stockings up to their thighs with their, you know, their bottoms hanging out, or it's just not appropriate. Children would not be allowed to wear that in the real world, so it's really grooming behavior of little girls to wear this in like the virtual world, like it's okay for them. That in itself is predatory. But it's not just that, but there's also designing to harm children with addictive conduct and deceptive commercial advertising. And you know, that's one thing that Cottage in the Hills is like. You have this crazy box hunt collection where you have to spend hours, right? And I experienced that. I partook in it to get the absolute gist of what it is required to even be able to compete in the game. There was so much abuse and so much trolling and abuse of me just for exposing things that were absolutely inappropriate, and abuse, trolling, stalking of little kids who are just simply trying to play the game. And it's designed to keep players in the game, especially little children. And then you have an owner who sabotages the game of what little kids had already spent time in, you know, trying to collect amount of boxes to get up on the leaderboard to win that trophy, and then he sabotaged them by creating a fake box scene, and then they lost their positions. And that was absolutely the type of thing when you don't have regulatory practices for all games to have moderators, to really have an ability to, anybody can create a game, and you know, they can have sadistic behavior themselves as a game owner, and there's really nothing really truly regulatory about it. And that's why these types of lawsuits are so necessary. In addition to that, you know, as in schools, there are many bully children, bully kids, teenagers picking on smaller kids, or just in general. And you know, the schools most part do their best to try to deal with, you know, anti-bullying campaigns, but on Roblox, it is an absolute breeding ground for sociopathic behaviors of even children abusing other children, and they even abuse adults. So there's a lot of problems with Roblox that hopefully lawsuits will get corrected. One thing they're talking about, though, is basically free labor of kids that they're profiting off of. They make, and you know, YouTube does this, and so does Facebook, content creators, quota and hard to meet requirements. You have to have a minimum of at least 30,000 earned Robux in the account and paying a monthly subscription fee. So yeah, they're profiting off of their labor and making it impossible for them to have any share of the profits. And I really truly think that these lawsuits are going to have success, and I pray that they do, because what they're doing is just egregious. So I'm taking all of my emails, all of my messages, the things that I've posted on the wall in the game Cottage in the Hills, to try to expose the videos that I have of players who go and they target other people and other players, regardless, don't even care what the age of that player. They have no idea what the age of that player is. And I've brought kids into the game. I invited various people, and they were systematically, you know, trolled. And so there's just not really enough regulation on games. And then you have the games like spray paint, which I collected a lot of evidence in that game to submit to Roblox. Lots and lots of pictures of things that I cannot discuss in this video. However, those types of things are also going to these lawyers, and actually there's two sets of lawyers, and for their use, to show, just as an example of how it is very predatory, and there's just complete lack of regulation, not enough moderation, and just all kinds of different abuses going on in games, you know, to a lot of people, but especially to kids. And the very evidence that I have that when I tried to report what was going on, I was harassed. I wasn't allowed to. I bought a box rush, you know, for the server that I was in, which it was a full server, and I couldn't even participate in it because I was approached by somebody about the evidence that I had collected based on an email of requesting from Roblox, you know, screenshots, videos, etc. And it was not even appropriate for anybody to demand the evidence that I have of potential cheating evidence, because only Roblox can confirm the use of alternate accounts. They are the ones that have to verify who has ownership of those accounts and how they were used. Nobody else can do that. And so to approach me because I told the owner that, you know, I made him aware of it, that this was being sent to Roblox, to approach me demanding information about that evidence was absolutely not appropriate. And it caused me to lose my lead and just interrupted I was in the middle of a race against the clock to collect boxes for the competition. And so just showing different ways that I was harassed and retaliated by multiple players for trying to expose the abuse and exploitation of children in this particular game. And this is the part of the problem. And this is why these lawsuits are really, really necessary. It's not just about the money. For example, consumers only see the deceptive statements put out by Roblox and do not learn the truth about the platform until it's too late. And I personally am just one of the things that really needs to be addressed is the grooming of children and inappropriate behaviors, especially teaching them, you know, cheating behaviors as if it's okay when it's not. It's very disturbing. Also, avatar clothing for little girls. We're talking fishnet stockings all the way up to their thighs with skirts where you can see their underwear flipped up. It just really inappropriate to attire that if that child wore that outfit in the real world, their parents would probably be arrested. Or, you know, it's not appropriate in the real world. That it's grooming them to sell this type of stuff to little children, that this is okay for them to dress this way because it's in the virtual world. It's grooming is what it is. It's grooming behavior. And they're making a lot of money off of selling that avatar attire. This number, about 17% of Roblox users are over age 25. It's actually a little bit higher than that because there is an increase of adults going to Roblox just because the graphics of Roblox have really evolved and have improved, where Xbox has pretty much been the gaming universe for adult gamers. But there are more and more people going to Roblox, especially as it grows and has many more games available with better graphics. So this complete lack of appropriate regulation between kids and adults, that kids are abusing adults, targeting them because they don't want to play with adults, or they just, you know, just to harass them, you know, bully behavior. They bully other children. And then, you know, I personally witnessed an adult male who was harassing a minor, and I just thought, wow. And that happened in Cottage in the Hills game. Like, there was voice chat going on, and with a minor, and I'm not going to say any names. And it was very abusive. Very abusive. In fact, I did say something to them. I said, hey, you know, that's a minor. That's a child. You know that, right? Of course, I have heard, you know, specific minors are also violent. I mean, I have heard one minor threatening an adult, like, with violence. I mean, you know, kids are also abusive. But it's just that I think the younger that they are, that the worse it is. Like, I saw little kids who were just simply trying to get money from boxes, who were being trolled by other players, and they were being overtaken. Like, there's lots of boxes on the ground, but they just didn't want them to be able to collect, because they wanted basically all the boxes for somebody that was in the server that was a competitor. And it was really sad because, they left. And that is pretty rampant in this game. The amount of money that they make off of kids and their labor and their efforts, again, making it so impossible for them to meet some kind of quota to get any share of the profit, which is a lot of the social platforms, the content creators like YouTube went to, basically you have to have a certain amount of public watch hours, but yet they can control the visibility. And, this is the same thing here, where the placement of the ads of products is important, but just using their work and not ever sharing anything with them is just absolutely egregious. And so I, again, really hope that they succeed in this lawsuit. Then it goes into great detail about the Roblox Talent Hub, the labor market conducive to child labor exploitation. And so they really target that, which I'm glad, because it needs to be. So this is a nationwide class allegations, and it's a California subclass allegations. It's violations of California's Consumer Legal Remedies Act. There's violations of the California Unfair Competition Law. And, we're talking about competition. Unfair, unlawful, or fraudulent business acts or practices under the California's Unfair Competition Law. I would say definitely what I experienced and what I have evidence of through this competition that I participated in, and what this owner of this game did by allowing some of the people that he wanted to win. Basically, he sent some people to a fake box collecting scene, and those who had already spent a lot of time in gaining positions on the leadership board, and then they were basically lost their positions because he gave massive amount of boxes to the players who went to the right place, and then he laughed and said that he had played this joke on people with no concern or moral empathy whatsoever of how he affected other players in losing their position on the leadership board, and to include children. And this is a perfect example that when you have people, which basically anybody can create a game, all they really need is money to hire a scripter or a coder, or to know those skills yourself, okay? And to not have really any regulation of what kind of, how they're managing it. I mean, they can, the person who runs the game could just be evil. They could just do things that are harmful. You don't know anything about them. And so the kinds of things that this person has done just does no concern whatsoever of how he hurt other kids, and to allow these trolls to just go throughout the game and just to overcome them and, just troll them, basically. I mean, that's not an appropriate way to treat little kids that you've invited to the game to collect money for cash to buy things, to build things in the game. And so I did collect evidence of repeated behaviors of these stalkers who target people collecting boxes that, for whatever reason, various reasons that they just don't want them to. It's not that there was only one box on the ground that they were both going for. They had many boxes on the ground. They were going after the other person to troll them. And that's abuse of little kids. And one of the things that I recently had to do when I had to gather evidence of some racism that was going on, and there was somebody that was actually creating attire with the N-word on it and KKK masks and hoods. And they were selling it and going into games wearing it. And so I had to gather evidence of that. And I actually had to be very persistent to get corrective action of that, which there was corrective action done, but that player was not banned. They did remove the attire because it was absolutely inappropriate, but that player should have been banned. Okay, so it's just, there's so many things that children are being exposed to. I can't even tell you the things that I captured pictures of to send to various people and to Roblox staff to deal with one game that it was reported by many YouTubers and just the public in general in many platforms that it was extremely toxic and predatory and just very inappropriate things being painted that little kids are seeing. And so I took, measures to go into many servers and collect evidence of pictures of that, and had to submit that. And yeah, that was not fun. But there's just a lot of examples like that in various games across the platform that are just super toxic and should not have kids in there, and things that they're exposed to that they just don't, or they don't have the ability to regulate, or they just won't. They go into how Roblox concealed its use and profit from child exploitation, held out its platform as safe and educational tool for minors, and then even said they have the ability to derive monetary wealth from development on the platforms. But it's not real. It's not true, because they do make impossible, requirements. And so it's set up that way. So this is a jury trial requested, and there's not a set amount that they have requested. Of course, that will be determined at trial. Actual damages, punitive damages, prejudgment interest from the date of filing the suit, reasonable attorney fees, cost of the suit, and any other that the court may deem necessary or appropriate. Fortnite is also being sued for targeting kids' gaming addictions, designing games that basically, gamers, the owners of games get paid the way they have it set up for various ways, but one of the ways is by time in the game. Okay, so specifically from premium members, and so they want to design games that keep them in the games. And Cottage in the Hills is one of the perfect examples of a time in game, to get them focused on the amount of boxes that you collect, to be the most box collected in the week winner. Takes extreme amount of effort to even reasonably obtain that, and it's designed that way on purpose for time in game from these children. And that is specifically, and luring them in with plushies, and when it was exposed, to harass people for trying to expose that kids that even go in there are being abused by trolls, and taking no efforts whatsoever, refusing to ban these people who troll like this, like they surround them, they follow them. I did a video where I actually jumped off the cliff so I could get away from these trolls that were just, you can see them in the video circling and following me, and it's stalking. It's actually criminal stalking when somebody tells you to leave them alone. And when I was announcing one day in the chat that, what to do if I said, hey, I'm reporting this trolling behavior, and there was people in the chat telling other people to leave them alone, and it's rampant in this game. And the only person that even remotely thinks that there's some sort of admin to this owner's game is a beta tester who sits there and says she's in the server every day and does not see anything. And you can see on my YouTube channel that I have videos of these trolls doing this, and yet she goes out there and surrounds me and harasses me, telling me that there's nothing wrong in the game, and of course saying that there's no cheating. And sadly, it may be that these kids in the game who are trying to defend this owner, who are the ones who are doing the bullying, they are being encouraged by such bully behavior. They are being groomed for such cheating and bullying of other players. And then yet another lawsuit against Roblox that was filed. This one is about facilitating child gambling. Talk about exploitation. So it says gambling is not allowed on the platform, but it hosts millions of virtual games that cater to children and teens. It points to third-party gambling sites that invite users to play blackjack, slots, roulette, and other games of chance using Roblox in-game currency. Then yet another lawsuit against Roblox. Class action suit from parents about sexual content and grooming. I have personally, sadly seen grooming on Roblox, and I have been complaining about this entire avatar clothing that no parent would allow their child to wear in the real world, so grooming them that it's okay to see themselves, because their avatar is like an extension of themselves and their identity, especially when children are developing. They're developing psychologically, and know their identities and their egos. So to see themselves wearing such provocative clothing that it would be illegal for them to wear in the real world, this is problematic, and it is absolutely grooming behavior. Then I'm not even going to say it, but you can read this portion for yourself. But there's serious things going on Roblox, and I personally believe that there needs to be age separation on this platform, and especially in competitions, because in the real world, kids would not be competing with adults, and they don't have, like, for example, in this one particular competition, this person who's a minor was wanting only him and his or her friend to win together, and that's not reasonable behavior. That's immature behavior to think that no other person should be rising up and taking over because only them and their friends. I mean, that's just childish. That's not real world ideology about competition. So putting kids and adults in competitions together is unhealthy. It's very unhealthy, especially when you're sabotaging contests to help certain people win, and then you're hurting other children. It's just so toxic. If you have been a victim, or you have any information that you think that could be used for just basically showing different scenarios or situations of different types of exploitation or abuse, then you can contact these people at this number. And I personally apologize to those who I invited to the game called Cottage in the Hills, and because some of my friends are minors, that they did go over there, and some of them were mistreated when they tried to collect money, boxes or whatever. There were people who were trolling them, and so anyways, if you're not able to get anything reported or get any kind of response to Roblox, you can basically go to the headquarters of Roblox CEO, and you can send things directly to Roblox and say, hey, your format of reporting problems is not working, and I want to make sure that you receive this message, and you send it certified return receipt, so you have evidence that they can never say, that there wasn't something, appropriately sent in full detailed form, that they cannot have any, basically, escape from liability, because that's what they've been doing on this platform. And thankfully, these lawsuits, hopefully, there has been some in the past that's been filed, but they settle out, and then there isn't any change. But hopefully, these lawsuits that have been filed recently will bring change.